Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new series of university admissions. And we will be starting with the first video, which is understanding the admission process. This particular playlist is very crucial for students who are transitioning from their bachelor's towards their master's studies, or even some students who are preparing for their PhD studies. They might take some guidance from this. The content is more or less same, and I'll try to cover this in certain detailed aspects. We'll try to debunk some misconceptions that existing around the internet, and we'll also try to understand how the entrance examinations work in universities. So before starting, I would like to mention one point that I have received some suggestions from the previous videos. I've started a IELTS series. Over there, there were certain suggestions. For example, the video length is very long. So based on the suggestions, I've tried to decrease the video length and have tried to make it over several shortened periods that will basically remove the monotonicity which is existing, and it will offer a more interesting understanding experience, and it will be better in terms of understanding certain aspects. So let's start the video. The first things before deep diving into the image, I would like to say that there are certain misconceptions that are existing throughout the internet. The first thing is working experience. Now, this is one of the thing which almost everyone have this misconception, that is how many working years we need, 2 plus, 3 plus, 4 plus, even some are writing 10 plus. Okay, so this is a very common question which is existing in certain platform, for example Facebook. And if you are particularly a very frequent internet user, you might have encountered all these questions. The second is internships. Now, for example, when we are talking about internships, people often refer to certain internships which are not in their field. So let me just give you an example. So if you are applying for a course which is molecular biology, people will say that, okay, it is better for you to understand analytics because we do some analytical stuff, in dry lab stuff in molecular biology also. But it is very important that you stick to your core internships, because what happens often is that certain universities don't often entertain internships which are not related to the field. Okay. The third thing is certifications, right? So which kind of certifications do I need? Which platform is best, like Coursera, Udemy, or do I need to go for, in India especially, NPTEL? So whichever certification which I need, do we need to do some short-term courses? Then there are review papers or research papers. So paper publication is one very, it's an important topic, but again, there's biasness in which journals do we need to publish. So there is a ton of questions that existed, and clearing each of this thing is very difficult for a rookie who is new to this journey. So for them only, I have tried to make this video, because what happens is mostly students from third year or second year, like who are currently in their bachelor's, face all this kind of problems. They often have questions like what should I choose, which university examination should I give, am I compatible for that? So I will try to solve this. Now please understand that I don't mean that all these things are not needed, right? What I mean by this is that these are obviously there. Whichever factors that I written, like job experience, certifications, paper publication, these are needed. But another crucial aspect whenever we are trying to apply for a certain program is the university entrance tests or examination, whichever they call it. And this is very important because certain persons, what happens is, after having good working experience, after having a good H-index score in their publication, they often miss one point, which is the entrance examination. They are not prepared for that particular aspect, right? So whenever we are applying for certain universities, you should be knowing that there are certain university admissions that are conducted, and we should be well prepared in advance, right? Now, as I was mentioning that university examinations are the most crucial in terms of understanding this particular video. Because what happens is certain persons, after applying everything, I mean after submitting their documents for the preliminary examination, for example, let's take an example. If you applied for Harvard, so after applying to Harvard, you submitted all your documents, for example, your SOP, your LOR, and those kind of documents. You have submitted your grade transcripts, your diploma. But after what happens is they call you for an entrance examination, right? I'm not talking about this in Harvard, but I'm talking about it is mostly present in every top league universities across worldwide. So even if you go to Europe, in the top class universities that are ranking in the number, in ranking higher in number, for example, in let's say a certain country, and they are ranking like first, second, or third, the university ranking, they will have this process of having an entrance examination. Now, what is an entrance examination really is, right? So the entrance examination is basically after you have cleared your university application process. So the major entrance examinations that are conducted mostly is based on your core competency. So for example, you have applied to a field of molecular biology. You will be asked question related to biology, biochem, which is often referred to as biochemistry, or physiology, certain factors like this. Okay, so if you have applied towards certain fields, you will be asked to that certain core questions. So if you are applying for neurobiology, then questions will be based on neural physiology. Okay. Or if you are applying for biotechnology, then there can be questions related to your certain processing techniques, okay, chemical kinetics, those are certain areas. So after you have cleared your entrance examination, generally what happens is most of the students are, I mean the acceptance rate that you often see, okay, so those who are new to this certain terms, what do we mean by acceptance rate is certain universities across worldwide have certain acceptance rate. So for example, the top league schools that you see across world have often very less acceptance rate. They often is below 30%. Okay. So what does it mean is, for example, if an university is having acceptance rate of 25%, this means out of 100, 25 applicants are only selected. Okay. So it shows that how competitive examinations are really. So for example, certain universities with 15% and certain even drops to 4%. So out of 100, only 4 applicants are selected. Okay. So 4%, which this means is 4 out of 100 applicants, right? So this is very important to understand the acceptance rate, because based on this, you should apply. I mean, I'm not suggesting that acceptance rate is a hindrance, but I'm just suggesting that how difficult will be the competition, right? But please don't mind, again, I mean, if someone is new to this field, I'm suggesting them because what happens most often is that people often underestimate themselves. So if a university, certain university has, for example, 4% acceptance rate, then they don't apply to that universities because they think that it is only 4 out of 100 applicants. Then it is better not to, apply to these universities because the chances of rejections are very high. But I mean that you might have the competency. So it is very important that you understand what is there, right? And based on that, you apply to certain universities. Then after you have cleared your entrance examination, you are called to a technical or academic interview. Again, this is present in most of the top league universities that you see worldwide. And it is for every program. I don't mean it for biological fields, I mean it for information technology, or even in certain fields, for example, management courses. This phase is very common. That is a technical or academic interview, or a combination of both, along with personal interview, right? So technical interview is based, they will ask you certain core questions related to your field. So let me give you an example. For example, if you are applying for biochemistry fields, then they will ask you questions related to chemical kinetics, and this is very important because this is one such very important area for biochemistry. Okay, if you're applying for courses such as infectious biology or tropical sciences, right? So in those cases, the questions will be based majorly on infectious biology, right? Okay, so what I mean is those where you're applying, they will ask your core areas. Okay, so it is very important that you understand what are the questions will be asked. Certain universities will give you a brief, template about how the entire academic or technical interview will process, and based on that, you can prepare. And finally, after that, they will, grant you an admission offer. What happens is in most universities is there is certain point systems, right? For example, I'm just taking an example. This is not applicable. It might not be applicable to any university. For example, the score is 200, right? So they might do like this, that they can assign, let's say, 50 points to here, right? They might assign 100 points, right, to here, and there is 50 points again in there. So the total rises to 200, right? So now each round you have to score the maximum. So, and based on this, you will be given a total score, right? It might be 150, it might be 160, and then a ranking list is prepared. So for example, each university has their dedicated seats. You can find this on any university's website. You visit the website, and I'm talking about public universities. You visit their website, they will give you the seat matrix. So some universities have certain program which have 45 seats or 25 seats or 22 seats. So that means that when the rank list is prepared, you have to be in the top 22 participants, right, to get admitted into this university, right? So you have to score maximum in each round, right? So this is the reality I'm talking about, that after applying, it's not the step. After applying, there can be several more steps, and be prepared for this. Now, what majorly students have a misconception is that IELTS score is required. I need to score, a good IELTS number. For example, 7 plus or 7.5 plus or 9, okay, 9 band or 8 band, certain like this. Okay. See, the thing is, there is a certain cutoff for IELTS for each universities. If you score good, it's very good. I mean, it's not something bad I'm talking about. But the thing is, even if you score a 9 band and you don't qualify all these things, you might not get admitted. Okay, so what I'm talking about is here, go to the website of any university you are looking and search for their IELTS requirement, the IELTS score requirement. They will assign a certain IELTS score. You have to cross the cutoff, right? If you scored a good marks, very good, congratulations. But again, you have to qualify all these steps also, right? The second thing is SOP. Now, this is, such a big thing, statement of purpose. And, when I was earlier preparing, I have seen many students preparing their SOP from like last 2.5 years. So what I mean is, if a bachelor's, let's say they are enrolled into a bachelor's technology program, BTech program in India, or BE program of 4 years, they try to prepare their bachelor's SOP, or when they are going to start their bachelor thesis, before that they start to prepare their SOP. How can you prepare SOP without having your bachelor thesis? Relax. SOP is required. Statement of purpose, a good statement of purpose will ensure that you get a good university, but that doesn't mean you will start it at, let's say, second year, because you don't know the basics of the subject also. So let us qualify till 4th year, okay, or the final year, and then let's prepare it based on our entire working experience, the kind of projects that we did over the last 4 years. Even for BSc students I'm talking about, right? Over the last 3 years, okay, or any field. What I mean to say, don't rush to prepare your SOP. First gain your experiences and then prepare your SOP. I have been a victim for this. I have started to prepare in the last 1.5 years, but again, there were certain courses which were very new to me, and I did need my professor's help. And based on that, I have communicated several, and after preparing all my papers and publishing them in certain journals, after working in certain areas, then I have tried to prepare my statement of purpose. And the last is money. Yes, this is an important factor. I mean, financial things are very important. You need to, prepare your financial checks, or you need to have a good idea of your financial background before applying, because nowadays the entire concept of studying, in some other part or some other countries is not just restricted to certain factors, but this is a holistic area. So even if you have less amount of money, you can get scholarships, or you can get certain good reputed universities with the help of scholarships. For example, Erasmus, there is a Erasmus scholarship which is available. Okay, but what I'm talking about is, even if you have a good amount of money, then also you might not get admitted into a certain universities, because you have to fulfill all these things. Okay, but it is better that you keep an idea about the financial part, right, before applying to any country, right? And if you are not planning to go for a scholarship or certain things, so be prepared to calculate each and every step of your journey. Okay, now let's move ahead. Now, up till this, I hope that you got a basic idea how the university entrance works. Okay, I am not really aware about my viewers whether they are very new. I mean, if they are watching it in the first or second year, I will make a separate playlist for them, where I'll explain each of this term like SOP, LOR, all these basic requirements that are there. But I'm more concerned in this particular series about is the entrance examinations that there are conducted, because this is often a thing which is almost missing in every YouTube video you might see. Okay, so certain viewers, they push certain agendas, for example, buy our course or buy that course or buy, and it is very common in certain parts of India that you buy my course and then you will get succeed. It doesn't work like that. Okay, if you don't have interest, you don't have interest in that particular area, you cannot really crack. Okay, and for entrance examinations you have to be very well prepared, right? Now please mind it that there are different types of university admissions occurring all over the worldwide. It might be that certain universities are not taking entrance examinations, but in the last slide, if you have listened and watched carefully, I have already mentioned that this needs to be a top league. Okay, I mean, almost all the top league universities across worldwide has started. They were actually having, but the process is very dynamic, the competition is increasing, so they have started to provide a little bit tougher entrance examination. So you have to be well prepared for that before applying, right? So see, certain university admission, there is a certain university which doesn't have entrance examination. So what happens is you submit all the required documents, for example, your LOR, your SOP, your grade transcripts, and based on that, there is a preliminary evaluation, and you get offered. You are given an opportunity to study at their program. This is there, but again, this is almost like 5 to 7% of universities. I'm not telling that this is very rare, but again, this number is very significant when I'm talking about the entire university landscape all over the world. But this is very less. I mean, there is a very preliminary entrance will be conducted. Now, the second class is there is an entrance examination, which is like a selection through a written or online subject specific examination. And now this thing varies a lot. I mean, certain universities have online examinations which are proctored, and you have to basically sit in a certain time slot, have to give the examination like any kind of online examination that occurs. And there are certain universities which often what they do is they invite you to a certain center at the state, right? For example, certain universities in Germany, they often invites you to sit and for an entrance examination that is handled at a certain center. So this is an offline examination. Okay, so this can be offline or online. I mean, this can be in both ways. but please mind it that you have to qualify this examination before proceeding ahead. Now the next step is interview. Interview again, as I mentioned, that this can be basically a technical, an academic, or a personal interview, or a combination of both. I'm just writing in abbreviation. T refers to technical, A refers to academic, and P refers to a personal interview. So each of this is different. Technical interviews means it will be majorly based on the practical applications, right? So if you have learned some concept, be ready. They will ask you some practicality of it. Okay, they will give you some scenario. Now in this scenario, which type of equipment you might use. So this kind of questions they ask. Academic is mostly on the theoretical basis. You might be asked to draw a certain biochemical diagram or a certain biochemical process, right? Or if you are given that, okay, explain me about this particular equipment, draw this. Okay, so for example, I was given a question based on a certain equipment, right? What are the kind of reagents we use? So these are some of the theoretical questions that are asked. And then there is a personal round, personal interview round. Personal interview round refers to your personal academic questions or your personal journey, right? So this the personal stage is mainly conducted on your basis of SOP. For example, why you want to study in this program, okay? What motivates you? Certain questions like this, okay? So those who are not aware, if you have a HR round in corporates have a HR round. This is more kind of that only, a personal, okay? Not entirely, I'm just giving a reference. If someone is coming from a corporate background, they might understand what we mean by an HR interview, right? Okay, so this is the thing. After clearing your interview, so firstly you submit your documents, okay, and then there is an entrance exam, then there is an interview. So the process moves like this, and it might be separate also. I mean, some universities might give you the offer letter after this stage, okay. Now this is very important. After you have qualified your interview, then what happens is certain universities, in my case also, there was the requirement of portfolio. What it means is they might ask you this particular area in your interview also, but sometimes portfolio you need to present it separately. There is another you can have a video conference, or you need to visit some offline center where they will be assessing you on the basis of your projects or your research papers or your works, and they will ask detailed question on this, okay. And after this, you also can have a research proposal round where admission is based on the quality and feasibility of a proposed project, research project. So what happens is, this is mainly for certain PhD program, but this is again applicable to master's program also, because master's is also a very specialized area, right? So you might need to give some research proposal to certain labs present in the university. For example, if certain labs are working on let's say biosensors, then you have to prepare a project or a research proposal related to biosensors. So for me, I was very interested in microbial degradation of textile dyes. You might find this thing in my previous videos also. Okay, so mostly this is referred, I'm just abbreviating it, I'm just referring, this is often called as bioremediation, right? So using microbial techniques to solve persistent issues which are present in the environment, right? So this is the entire process, right? And again, this is not like a chain that every university will have. Some universities after interview they can grant you, they can have multiple other rounds, but mostly universities completes after this. Some universities have last two steps. For example, they will ask for a portfolio or a research proposal, and then they will grant you the admission, right? Now let's move ahead. Types of university entrance exams. This is also very important because there are multiple universities which have multiple types of entrance examinations. So certain universities have MCQ based. So what I mean is, if you have followed from the last slide, I am just revisiting the previous slide. So be with me. For example, in this entrance examination in the second stage, okay, This is second stage is, I mean, this is like a universal thing. Okay, so entrance examination is always the second stage. Okay, so make it sure, because if some universities offer you admission after checking the preliminary documents, then it's okay, but some universities have an entrance examination, and this is mandatory for giving you proceeding to the next round. So this particular stage, so in the second stage, this slide specifically talks about the second stage, right? There are different types of university exams are there. For example, MCQ based is there, like there can be 50 questions or there can be 100 questions, and then there will be an average grade that is allotted to you. Subjective questions are there. Subjective questions refers to, in India, I'm talking about, if you have given your boards, your 10th and 12th exams, you might be very aware. Okay. These are, having very detailed, you need to give explanation, okay, and solve it. MCQ is basically if somebody has given competitive exam, for example, JEE mains or JEE advanced or NEET, those kind of questions. In this cases, MCQs is like the pattern is MCQ based. Then you have a subjective where you need to write detailed answers, which require explanations, problem solving, diagrammatic explanation, flow charts, those areas. This is also a certain type. I mean, there can be 2 or 3 stage interviews. So in the entrance examination also, this might be conducted through an oral interview, examination or interview, where you need to verbally explain certain things. Okay. So this is very, this is also very common in certain universities. What they do essentially is, after you have submitted your documents, so after submitting the documents in preliminary examination, then there is 2-stage program. Okay, this is based on 2-stage program. So the entrance examination and interview. So there is a first round, okay, interview, and there is a second round interview, right? And after this, they move ahead. Live interview is also there. Okay, oral examination refers, the difference between live interview and oral examination is certain oral examinations can happen where you need to give certain answers in a proctored manner, and then they basically record it, and then they are watched by certain examiners. And live interview is one-to-one panel. There is an entire panel who is sitting, or a one-to-one discussion, and you need to discuss your knowledge, your motivation, as I previously discussed about your technical knowledge, about your personal motivations, or your academic interests, so those kind of areas. Yes, there can be practical tests. This is very important, those who are applying for certain fields like bioinformatics or computational biology, because certainly they ask you for certain technical task or coding tasks. Okay, so this is often very important. They give you a coding based area where you need to solve certain problems, right? Certain programs also have laboratories are established, and you need to perform certain analytical techniques, or you need to visit some wet lab. Now this is not really common, but this is present in certain university exams also, and this is mainly meant for certain courses, very specific courses. If this is very lab oriented course, then they might give you a practical test. As I mentioned, there can be a research presentation. So what happens in live interview is that you are asked spontaneously some questions. Okay, in research presentation, what happens is you present your research topic, and then based on that they ask you questions, right? Difficulty level wise, I would say that all this are certainly based, the difficulty level is based on the university who is basically trying to cover the exam. So there is no hard and fast rule where certain areas are easy or certain areas are hard. This can be hard or this can be easy. It is based on the university. So with this, I like to end today's video. It was a short video. It was not as long as the earlier videos. It was meant intentionally based on the suggestions which I have received earlier. So nowadays I will try to make videos in a more crisp manner and concise manner, and we will try to add more and more episodes in that particular series. Stay tuned for part 2. We will definitely cover in more depth like what are the questions really asked in certain fields. For example, if you're applying to biochemistry masters or molecular biology, See, I'm talking this in terms of biology. Some persons might feel that I'm not talking about their field, but what I mean is I'm a person from biology, but the concept will remain same, right? So we will, discuss those kind of areas. We will also discuss about certain preparation strategies. What books can we use for preparing for our entrance examinations? And I will try to give some tips based on my experience how you can maximize your chances of admission. There is no guarantee that you can be admitted. It is always, I mean, the chance is always 50-50, but you have to perform better. You have to learn in a way that you maximize your chance of getting admitted. So this particular series, as I mentioned, will cover topics related to your interview preparation, the strategy, certain tips. Though I'm not an expert, I mean expert tips given by other experts in this area, and the success roadmap. And again, this is based on certain roadmap of individuals. I've referred to certain roadmap of individuals from certain persons. One very interesting thing at the end of the video I like to mention, we will try to host a podcast with a person who is in this field. Probably we will invite some person and we will have a one-to-one discussion so that it is better for other persons to understand it. So stay tuned for part 2. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.